Hey guys, John V here from PhoneArena. You're watching our video comparison between the LG Nitro HD and the Samsung Galaxy S2 Skyrocket. Now both devices have a lot of similarities to one another, like the 4.5-inch displays and 4G LTE connectivity, but you're probably wondering which one to side with, seeing that they're both priced the same at $249.99 with a 2-year contract. Well, there's hardly one device that outclasses the other in terms of the design, just because they're very similar with their plastic builds, lightweight feel in the hand, and also streamlined construction. But if we had to pick, we'd choose the LG Nitro HD just by a tiny bit, just for the simple reason that it's easier to hold with one hand, it's not as wide compared to the Skyrocket, and at the same time we prefer its textured plastic back cover. It keeps the look clean, and on top of that, it's less prone to scratches or smudges when compared to the Galaxy S2 Skyrocket. So they both share the same 4.5-inch size with their displays, but when it comes to detail, there's no question about it. The LG Nitro HD offers the superior detail between the two thanks to its 720p display over the WVGA resolution on the Skyrocket. It's actually most noticeable with things like the web browser, the fine text. You could still read out the small text with the Nitro HD, but you have to really look at it very close for your eyes to notice, just because when you're just looking at both devices from a foot away, it's hardly noticeable which one offers the better detail. But when it comes down to it, there's no question about it, the LG Nitro HD has better detail. So on one hand, with the Galaxy S2 Skyrocket, it produces some very deep, overly saturated color tones with its Super AMOLED Plus display. Meanwhile, the Nitro HD has a little bit more realistic tones with its color output thanks to its IPS displays. Both offer high contrast and also wide viewing angles, but this Galaxy S2 has a slight edge in terms of just viewing angles. But in the end, they're both nice and lovely with their color reproduction, but we just prefer the realistic looking tones that are found with the LG Nitro HD. Mainly because the Nitro HD utilizes 3 Android capacitor buttons as opposed to the 4 on the Skyrocket. It's actually less prone to any accidental presses. So they both have front-facing cameras. It's a 2-megapixel one on the Skyrocket versus the 1.3 megapixel on the Nitro HD. Unfortunately, you can't shoot any videos with the front-facing camera on the Skyrocket, but with the Nitro HD, you can shoot them in 1080p. The micro USB ports on both devices offer charging and data connectivity, but with the aid of an MHL adapter, you also gain the video out functionality. Lastly, they both share the same 8-megapixel autofocus camera, single LED flash in the rear, which has the ability to shoot 1080p videos. So here we are taking a look at the customized interfaces running top of Android 2.3 Gingerbread in both devices. It's the LG Optimus skin on the Nitro HD and the Samsung TouchWiz user interface on the Galaxy S2 Skyrocket. There's nothing really different between the two. They share a lot of commonalities. For example, you have the launcher bar at the bottom. From here you gain access to the app panel in a grid-like form. If you do pinch gestures in the home screen, you get that leaf view we're also accustomed to seeing. And in the end, they both offer the same amount of personalization with their vast widgets and wallpapers. Behind the scenes, both handsets share the same exact dual-core 1.5 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon processor with 1 GB of RAM, so they're clearly high-end devices. But if we had to pick, we prefer the Galaxy S2 Skyrocket's performance a little bit more, just because it's consistent with its operation and it's not as prone to inconsistencies with slowdown and lag that's evident on the Nitro HD. But nevertheless, they're both really peppy with their response rates, and as far as other basic operations goes, as like kinetic scrolling, opening up applications, they're fairly instantaneous with their movements. Thanks mostly to their sizable displays, the messaging experience is fantastic on both devices. Spacious layouts, on top of that, very responsive to the touch, so there's no problem as far as typing up long messages. Of course, with 4G LTE connectivity, it's one of the standout highlights on both devices. In our case, though, we simply use them with HSPA Plus connectivity just because 4G LTE is not available in our area. Nevertheless, we're happy with the speeds we're getting, very fast. As far as the actual web browsing performance is concerned, we prefer the Galaxy S2 Skyrocket just because it's a lot more fluid and responsive with its operation versus the choppiness that's found with the Nitro HD. When playing a song in portrait, there's nothing really different about the interfaces on both devices. They offer the same things, like the on-screen controls and even the album covers. But with the LG Nitro HD, we like it just a little bit more, just because when you put it in landscape, you get this nice 3D carousel effect to it. Just gives it a little bit more eye candy than the usual interface that we're accustomed to seeing. As far as the audio quality, they're both the same. They're not the strongest tones, they're rather average, and luckily they don't crackle at the loudest volume setting. On top we have the LG Nitro HD, in the bottom the Skyrocket, and you can tell with the video we're playing here, which is encoded in DivX 1920 by 1080 resolution. They play it flawlessly, a lot of detail, and of course it's moving at a good frame rate, no slowdown or lag, so both devices are equally the same as far as the video watching experience is concerned. It's a close call when it comes to photo quality with their 8 megapixel autofocus cameras. They're very similar in their quality. The top we have the Nitro HD, the bottom the Skyrocket. They're very similar here, as you can tell the samples that we're looking on the devices themselves. But when we preview them on a computer, the slight advantage goes to the Nitro HD just because it produces the more realistic looking colors, whereas the Skyrocket just has a little bit more saturated tones with its colors, giving it a very bluish tinge to its shots. And details go to the Nitro HD too. It just seems as though that it's able to capture better looking details. Now, even though we're checking out the 1080p high definition video recordings on the devices here, it's very hard to say which one has the better quality, but after checking them out on the computer, it's clear that the LG Nitro HD has a slight advantage with its sharper looking details, whereas on the Skyrocket, it just has a little bit of softer, fuzzier tone with its results. Neither handset managed to impress us with calling quality just because they suffer from their own problems. With the LG Nitro HD, there's just some crackling at the loudest volume setting with its earpiece, and with the Skyrocket, voices are rather weak in tone, and on top of that, the volume output's not the strongest. Fortunately, signal strength remains to be consistent with both devices, displaying a good amount of bars in high coverage areas, and at a time using both the handsets, it didn't drop any phone calls. Being 4G LTE devices, you know these two handsets are going to be battery drainers, but in our time using both of them under HSPA Plus connectivity, it just seems like the Galaxy S2 Skyrocket has a little bit more juice with its capacity. We're able to get 14 hours of normal usage, whereas the Nitro HD gives us only 12 hours. So you've got $250 in your pocket and you're figuring out which device to go to. As we've clearly seen in our comparison here, both devices offer the same results in pretty much all categories. Very hard to distinguish which one's going to be the better between the two, but for $250 2-year contract, we'd say you're going to get more value for the money with the LG Nitro HD for the simple fact that it does offer that 720p True HD IPS display, making it one of the most detailed displays on the market. On top of that, we prefer its realistic looking color tones versus the overly saturated ones that you find with the Super AMOLED Plus display of the Skyrocket. On top of that, it takes the slightly better photos and videos, and its design, although it's not awe-inspiring, we prefer it a little bit more than the Skyrocket. It just maintains a clean look and it's less prone to scratching with its texture back cover, and there's just a lot to love with the LG Nitro HD. So if you'd like to learn more about both handsets, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com. This is John V. Thanks again for watching, everyone.